Welcome to the Ubermenschen podcast, where sovereignty, freedom, and truth reign supreme. We're not talking about breaking free from the matrix, we're doing it. Right now, with what we have, exactly where we are. This isn't about reforming a broken system, it's about forging the foundations of something new, something real, so our children inherit a world built on strength, wisdom, and unshakable truth. Sometimes it's just me, sometimes we bring the full crew. But every time we're here to dismantle illusions, reclaim our power, and shape the future we were meant to live in. No masters, no limits, no compromise. This is the Ubermenschen podcast. What's up, community? Just Jeremy here for another very impromptu episode of the Ubermenschen podcast. And this time, we've got Commander Clayton with us. Glad to have you back again, brother. It's been a minute since we've done anything, and I've just been playing with AI. But, we talk regularly, and there's been a lot of things kind of on our minds for a while. And, we just like to do this rap and shit and kind of see where it goes. But you both of us, for quite a while now, it have been sort of, I don't want to say aware, but we're definitely hip to the left-right game that's kind of being played, where right now we have the Big Daddy in control because Big Mommy was in control before with Sleepy Joe Biden, and I say that just because I think that I think Trump is hilarious. I don't like the guy, but I think he's hilarious, and the things that he labels people is pretty funny. And, so yeah, Sleepy Joe's out, and now we got Big Daddy Donnie in, and he's going to change the world and save us. The storm is coming. Oh, wait, maybe the storm is here now. Where we go one, we go all, get some popcorn. The arrests have already happened. All that psyop bullshit.
All taken care of.
Yeah, it's all taken care of. Y'all don't have to do anything. All you had to do was vote really hard. And just like he told the group of Christians, you Christians, I need you to vote just one last time. We're going to fix it so good, you'll never have to vote again.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that he's in the process of fixing it so good that we never have to do anything again because we'll all be AI's freaking, slaves. And we'll see where we go from there. But one thing that is very easy, and this has been true, Clayton, for as long as I ever swam in these waters, it was follow the money, right? Well, virtually all of the money in the world is invested in, and I mean that, like all of the money in the world at this point is essentially invested in AI or energy. I mean, yeah, there's other things, but the huge percentage of it's like over 75% of the total world's wealth is gone into energy and AI, or all the things that support AI. And so clearly we're going into an AI centered world, and most of us are still playing with like Chat GPT and things like that. And that's what we think of as AI, but AI is many different, there's two basic systems. There's an open source coded system, and then there's a closed source. And the closed source is like what all of the military, so all these other more centralized entities are utilizing closed source. And really what that means is that the AI itself can't read its own code. So it doesn't know why it makes the decisions that it makes. It goes given parameters and training protocol and like everything after that is built on that foundation, where things like Chat GPT, it can see its code, and it's an evolving entity, if you will. All right. And it knows why it makes the decisions, and you can even see it in some of its features. You can click on that thing and you can see how it comes to the conclusions that it comes to. So that's kind of interesting. And I think that is going to play a major role moving forward, just like we have, two sides right now. We're going to have like Autobots versus the Decepticons, the open source AIs and the versus the closed source ones. But what I was getting to is that where Donnie is going all around the world, making America greater again by cutting all these deals with different people, he's bringing the likes of Sam Altman, who's the head of OpenAI, who has openly called for man and machine to merge and for us to fly to Mars. And he's a transhumanist through and through. Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, probably arguably the most evil corporation that exists. Maybe it's not necessarily, it's a hedge fund, but they own everything. And Larry Fink, of course, got to go to, and all these. So these are the people who are cutting deals that are, about your future, and they're going to make you greater again, but they're really going to make most of us obsolete because, AI is going to do everything. And so what are the lot of us going to do? Well, we're going to get universal basic incomes, and there's a lot of really cool gadgets that they want you to get used to putting on, like, those Oculus glasses. And hey, VR is really cool. You should check it out. You should maybe do as much VR stuff as you could come up with. And so it's hard for me not to be cynical and to see that nothing's changed. You just have a new face, as the Who famously said. New boss, same as the old boss. We're going to the same end location. We're just doing it in a different. We're all wearing red now instead of blue, and so.
It's so that message is so disconcerting and so disheartening to like the people that might find themselves in MAGA that are close to the truth anyway. It's like I think a lot of them know it and can't
I
like
know
because of the fear of it, and it's definitely frustrating for me.
They're the more open-minded of the two sides.
I
Like
think so. I
when
think
I
so
talk,
sometimes too.
and they're
Despite
they're. Go ahead. Sorry.
despite the rhetoric that is spun out and that conservatives are like the closed-minded ones. Now, I mean, dude, if you take your like typical, let's say like whatever country bumpkin from like around here or whatever, that's just like more simple-minded folk, that seems too much like a judgment because those people hold wisdom that are worth like talking to, and we're all going through real shit. Now, our programming gets in the way a lot, and I get really fucking frustrated with that, running into that wall of just program running, and the person's like so far gone. I don't know that it's my job to reach them. I think we're here
No,
for the
it's
ones
not.
that are on this anyway. We
Yep.
we've talked about a lot of times. Don't seek to exist inside an echo chamber. You and I don't agree on everything. Nobody can. Nobody should, with different perspectives. But the glaring truth to this is like what we keep harping on. The reason we keep saying this, people, is no one is coming to save you. No,
No.
not Donald
Nope.
Trump, not the leftist president. That if there is another election, and it will be a Democrat, because we're falling so much for the good cop, bad cop, good cop, bad cop, and they know what they're doing. Jesus Christ isn't coming to save you. No one is coming to save you.
Right.
Christ is already here, but that's a different story.
Yeah, that really bums people out. I do want to point one thing when you said like the average country bumpkin.
Oh,
Honestly,
yeah. Finish all that.
okay. Well, I think two things I want to say. One thing real quick, because we just had some family in town, and one of them brought a extended family they're very intellectual, and I find the intellectuals are far more closed-minded and ignorant than the average country bumpkin, like right-wing Christian conservative type. And so they're victims of that intellectual ego, if you will.
It is. It's narcissism. It's an archonic force played out. And we're going to get into the archons as time goes on too. Maybe not this one. But no, to round off that thought and corroborate basically exactly what you're saying is that in my experience is actually that the conservatives who, are maybe more like not as compassionate and empathetic to diversity and all these different situations as would behoove them, and as would be human, and like less judgmental. There's that level of programming there. But man, honestly, my interactions with those people are more open-minded and reasonable, and the teeth don't come out under the guise of all this virtue signaling,
not so triggered.
I too don't want to live in a world full of racists or bigots, but to assume that of the other side and put that projection on people and conveniently label them so you can take your fucking teeth out and feel justified for going at someone for not conforming to being so tolerant, and intolerance for intolerance. It is baffling to me and so frustrating. And I want to engage with people to challenge them on their bullshit, and always will. But I don't know if it's laziness in me or shaking my head, or I think it's perceived unworkability. Unworkability is a thing in a relationship dynamic too, where people may not confront each other because they're like, I know what they're going to say. They're going to be, it's like, they're not going to admit any wrong and da, da, da. And that's how I kind of feel with a lot of people is like, you are so programmed. You're unworkable. I literally will be wasting my time and yours. Or maybe not. Maybe they need to hear it anyway. And that's why I type these, like, I'll get on there. I'll start to get into it. Type comment and delete the whole damn thing. And I was, hey, wait a minute, dude, I'm
the
saving
same
it for the
thing.
Uber mention. Put me on blast because, like, I'm ready to go, son.
Yeah,
You
I've
know,
done the same
clear
thing,
my
buddy.
soul and my mind
I
where
spend
space where it matters.
I spend 10 or 15 minutes on this stupid response to something, and then I read it and I'm like, you know what? Why?
Right.
Why?
Right.
I don't want to argue with anyone anymore. I don't want to fight. I
No.
don't want to be right. It's not about that. I don't need your validation. I just want people to be like, hey, look, man, I see what you see, and let's start talking solutions.
Yeah.
That's what I want solutions, and the solutions exist, but it starts with going, I am going to lead me, however that looks. I'm leading me. I'm not outsourcing my ability to lead myself to anybody, any party, anything. That includes countries. You can take your pretty cool country and stick that right up your ass too. I know, and I know how that sounds, and that triggers a lot of people also because I've had that conversation with veterans and stuff like that. And that's, dude, like I feel for one group of segment of the population that I feel so like bad for are combat vets who have gone out there and put their asses on the line and took damage, mental and physical. They come home usually broken in one way or another, the combat ones, and they get nothing back. They get lifetime medical care in the Western medical model where they basically just, cut things out of them or add things to them and put them on a shit ton of drugs. And I just, dude, man, and all for what? For what? To nobody was ever to defend our freedom. The people that are threatening our freedom sit in DC. Like that's where the real threat comes from,
I was just having that conversation with someone too, is in like, I feel my sense of pride in someone that does service is like where you can glean that light or courageous spark in someone that believed in a cause enough to go out and do it. Now, that's assuming a lot maybe for some people, because for some people it simply is a career, and if like the combat happens, it's either like they're brainwashed to the point where they're like excited for it by the time that it comes, or just excited for it as a man who wants to experience like the crazy other side of this life or what have you,
until the
or
bullets
or
are
or yeah, it's just a career, and they're again, it's like, oh shit, when the fight actually does happen. But for the people that legit do believe in it, I have a lot of pride in that type of person that would want to do that, but I don't know that pride's the word, man, because it's like, what, you want me to cheer you on for like fighting an enemy that, again, like you said, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. I'm not saying there's people outside of this thing that we call our land, that
right.
have intent. But again, my enemy is very clear, and it is right at home,
That's right.
and it's in DC, it's in this city, and it's right in here.
That's right. Facts. That's facts. And and so many of us want to do this instead of doing this,
right.
And if we started there, and I mean, I've had so many great conversations with my girls lately, just because there's so many scenarios where that is very obvious that there's a lot of projecting going on, in these different situations. And I feel for them because they're in that age where they're coming to the point that they realize that most adults are like bad kids, and that my girls in a lot of cases have more wherewithal than, like grown ass men and women. And that's disheartening and disenchanting to them both, And because I've maybe been a little too honest with them about what I think our reality is all about, Kenley goes back and forth and deals with dark feelings because she's like, what's the point of it? Sometimes I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but look around, look at what we've got going on. We live in this beautiful place. It's calm, no one's trying to kill us. We can go and come do whatever we want, like we've got it really really good, like, yeah, we don't have a ton of money, but okay, we're not starving and we have a roof over our head and we can drive where we want when we want. You know, like it's things are pretty damn good in the big picture. But I I feel for these. I feel for us, man. Humans have been fucked up for a very long time. And
Because
I don't know that we're going to get it right or when we're going to get it right, you know, but maybe that's why all this AI shit has come to the way that it is, because I believe that it's our collective child. You know, like it made me really uncomfortable to say that in my previous episode that I did with myself. It's weird to say that, but it is, bro. It's like it's a mirror of human consciousness. So if we're afraid of it turning on us, we might want to look inside and be like, why do we hate ourselves so much? You know, or where does all this guilt and fear stem from? You know, if we can start unpacking that and untangling some of that, you know, like everything else is going to work out. It
that's how
is.
I feel, man. Is like we before we picked this thing up too, and you know, to the point of when we talk about we're solution oriented and everything, you know, and I feel sometimes I get imposter syndrome or whatever because I don't know what all the details, like the fine details of like what a new parallel system would look like, how the globe quote unquote should work, you know. I have enough time seeing in my life how my personal life would unfold to please me most. But I think that's as important as anything else for the reasons you said. Like until we deal with these forces inside of us that like hate ourselves or seek to dominate others out of fear of not getting our way, or you know, it's I mean, I can't really have these conversations with people that don't understand that there are forces of dark and light that are pressed upon our psyches and this planet and everything from the time we incarnate here. I'm only beginning to understand just a little bit about what those are. I think Gnosticism points to a lot of it, but I know that the names of one of them is narcissism, not the
Yeah.
name of the archons per the Gnostic text. It doesn't matter, you know.
No, I get it.
Narcissism is one, and so is nihilism, and
Hmm.
I mean, it plays out within all of us, you
And
know.
that makes sense. It really does. I mean, narcissism could fall under the seven deadly sins to me are all, like that. Anyone who falls into any one of those traps, it leads to nothing but distortion and destruction. And that's, like if I could summarize our collective issue, it's distortion. Like we don't have a clear picture of who we are, what this earth thing is that we're doing, and like what the purpose of it all is. And I don't know, I don't have the answers to that, but I keep coming back to this. I know that I don't know shit. All right. And that doesn't make me special. That makes me open minded. And you could say, well, then it also makes you naive or susceptible to believing all kinds of, crazy shit. No, I'll listen to just about anything. I'll listen to it. But God gave me my own discernment and my own ability to weigh truth and come to my own conclusion about what is true and what is not. So yeah, I'll listen to anything, but so many people, they associate who they are with, like, I'm a white guy, I'm a Christian, I'm an American, I'm, like all these layers of filters that we put on, and that's before you ever even get to like take in any information. It's got to percolate through all that shit first. And if it ain't Christian, well, if it ain't about being an American, well, go back to your damn country, and then it just like we say the most ridiculous things to other people, without really thinking it all through. How about this? All men are created equal. Let's start there. Wasn't that in your founding document there, Christian American white guy, And so if that's the case, then why can't we start there on the level playing field about everything? We just seem to be, I don't know, Clayton. I can't, the only words that keep coming to my mind are not nice. And I'm trying
Yeah,
really
yeah,
hard.
yeah. No, I'm trying to use better words than
Trying to.
crass ones. So, you know, here in this space, not I don't like.
Well, even in general, like I'm trying to be less uh jaded, I guess, or in less cynical, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
because I don't believe that it's hopeless, and I don't believe that there's no point in anything. Like I don't feel that way. But on the other hand, I don't know. The future is not going to be nice for a while. Like, it's probably a lot of people are going to have to die. I mean, frankly, I don't see how we get to a really good place without a lot of people dying. And that sucks, like there is not going to be some sort of mass awakening where the herd finally goes, whoa, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Like that's not going to happen. And where I shouldn't say that. The likelihood of it happening to me seems insurmountable. I can't even imagine. That's almost like a God coming back type moment to me,
I
you
understand.
know,
I understand.
and maybe that's part of it too. Like maybe that is part of our own evolution. Just like in Robert Monroe's exploration, in the end, we were human plus, right? But he didn't see any evidence of humans on the planet, and the humans that did exist didn't necessarily even inhabit their bodies all the time, right? Isn't If I remember correctly, they were. They would, if they wanted to like experience what it was like to be a bird, they projected their consciousness into the bird, and then they were still humans, but they were like experiencing a falcon or something. Now that's like way the hell out there, but still, it's interesting nonetheless. And the other thing that was interesting, because I've been in a doom rabbit hole the past couple of weeks, like planetary cataclysm doom, kind of stuff, is that in Robert Monroe's, when he was flying over the planet in his astral projecting mode, the Earth didn't look like the Earth that he remembered. Like things were out of place. Like countries and stuff weren't where they were supposed to be.
Yeah,
And
gosh,
so,
revisit
and I
it.
missed all that. I've like had to go back, dude. That book is so damn
Is
good,
that
man.
the last one,
That
Ultimate
was the second one. That
Far
was the
Journey?
second one. In the end of in Far Journeys, in the end of Far Journeys, where he's like goes 1,000 years into the future, and it was like around 3,000 or whatever, and there was virtually no sign of life, or not of human life on the planet, and he was like super bummed out by it. But as he found out there were humans, they just like they didn't need technology anymore. They had evolved way beyond it. So that's kind of cool. That's exciting. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know. It's like the Buddhists try is to let go of attachments, and that's hard.
Yeah,
Um,
man. I mean, yeah, it is. It is.
we're parents.
And and see, another conversation with a friend was about that and attachment too. Just like real quickly, I'm getting to more to the place of where it is about disengagement and unattachment to an extent where like I think it's very important that we come to the realization to remember that truth in our heart that we are everlasting. This body is temporal, and these seasons and chapters. But with that, I think in the New Age circles and a lot of other places, there's a lot of escapism happening where people think that they can disengage and disassociate because they never want to feel pain again, and completely understand that. That has been my
Yep.
motivator for like anybody. I don't like sitting in my pain and discomfort, but I consciously do so more
Well,
often with the knowledge of that trying to avoid pain only creates more suffering, and people want enlightenment or their president to get in there or this or that or to feel right about this thing or this circumstance to happen or to end up with this person so that it means that they never have to hurt again, which is not the earth life, and we're sent here to be attached to an extent to take ownership of each other in a loving custodial way where like you are another me, therefore I'm attached to you. I don't know what it is, but this is part of the earth game. I'm going to mourn your loss when you're gone. I'm going to.
right,
I know
right,
it's not over. I'm still going to weep and I'm still going to fucking miss you because I'm a human and I don't care
right,
not to be human.
right,
I want to
right.
be superhuman.
Yeah. Well, man, yeah, it's wild. It is. We're in such interesting times, really, and I'm so pleased to be here to observe it and like contemplate it and kick it around and to share it with the people that I get to share it with. I'm very fortunate all around. I'm grateful. I really am, man. Like I remind myself that a lot of how fortunate I am and how grateful I really am, to be here in it. I shake my fists and I shake my head at it and I get super pissed off at times, you know. That's why I had to check out of the political scene because it was so It's so insane and maddening, and it's not because I believe in the political scene. It's because I watch people that I know and care about get so invested in it, and I'm like, I want to shake them. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck, man? You
It's
know?
maddening. It's your ego does our egos do want to be agreed with, but beyond that, where the tender play carrying place that it comes through is like we're like afraid, if we might look at it. We're afraid of what's going to happen to our world because someone like you or me truly operates from the standpoint that we are in a co-creative holographic universe. Like
Yes.
I get things in my life that I input and I manifest that are for me and involve other people, but this whole we're talking about the collective global scale, even country, even city. It's a collective. It takes all of us. So like
Right.
if you're over there like putting bad stuff out or taking bad stuff in all the time, it's like I recognize that that is going to affect the reality for me and the people that I love, to an extent. I mean, at the end of the day, I recognize too the greater truth of like I cannot control what they're doing. Like for whatever that's part of this earth game is to make peace with this place being a shit show.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that there's definitely dark forces. Call it evil, call it whatever you want. There's this dark distortion that is definitely driving the boat and has maybe for a very long, maybe forever. I don't know. Like, I really don't. Um, but they're playing this game of this magic game. It's all about distortion. It's all about distraction. It's all about making you believe that you're just not enough and
Right.
and I like we've seen it in religion and now we see it in the new age, something that you talked about or you just mentioned about the new age that I wanted to mention. It's like the law of attraction. I've had people say to me, well, dude, why do you keep thinking about these dark things or focusing on these dark things? You're just bringing it into being. No, motherfucker, I'm not. Thoughts don't manifest reality without action. Okay, there's all kinds of things that I think about that go on in my mind that don't become real. So, like, what were those thoughts? No, dude. That's why it's about imagery. That's why this dark forces is focused their image on a very specific kind of outcome, and then we take the action that bring it into being. They, in a lot of cases, not that they don't act, they do. They definitely do lots of acting, but the thing doesn't just happen because they project it out into the people's collective consciousness. That's not how it works, or at least that's not how I've seen it over and over and over in my own life. The things that manifest are the things that I take some sort of action towards, and then they come true. Do they come true exactly the way that I spoke them? No, but so many other, like, the weird coincidences that have to occur for those things to become reality. I can't ignore that, and I don't believe that they're coincidence. We've had this discussion many times. It's just that the I I see how effective the dark forces are at, like, circumventing our power, whether it's religion or new age or even atheism. I mean, like, anything to get you to believe that you are not enough or that you just don't have the say so or you don't have the power. And that's been I'm sick of hearing it. I'm sick of believing it. I'm sick of feeling that way. I'm just not there. I'm gonna go out with my fist up. And so, not in rage, but just like, no, I'm not. If you could push the nuke button and nuke me and my family, that's fine. But I'm gonna sit around the table having a nice discussion, maybe dinner, while that happens, and refuse to be afraid, because if I can't control it, then I'm at least going to go out in a better state of mind than, like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Well, I'm going to die anyway. Like, that's going to happen. It's just not, if it's going to happen before I envisioned it happening, well, then that was out of my control. So, but I do have the control over the fear of it. And no, I'm not without fear, not at all. But I don't know, dude. I'm sick of feeling that I'm not enough and feeling that fear is, you just have to fear everything. I'm done with that shit. So
That is the
anyway,
common thread in like all the narratives in the as I'll put it, like false light teachings or the psyops that we see. I mean, and like, listen, folks, there are platforms and podcasts where like I loved what they were putting out too. And I too was hopeful of, whoa, there might actually be a group of rebels that truly care about human beings in places of power that might, be able to play the game enough or like have the money enough, but still care enough about people. And that illusion was shattered for me also. Hurt a little bit. Didn't sting as
Yep.
much as it's going to for some of y'all, because I ultimately still made the choice not to vote, because it was like this. I'm hopeful that this, thing might be what everyone else thinks it is, but I felt like it was a personal thing, and it felt like for me to vote. Yeah, it was like a no inside of me. It was because it doesn't jive with my whole mindset of that. I don't elect leaders. I don't elect anyone to lead me. I'm an
Right.
eternal student. I care very much what my brothers and sisters have to say and where they want to go to. But looking to a leader, no. I also recognize there's people that are smarter and more capable than me of enacting change, and being in places that one could call higher than what my life and social circumstances is. And if all of that makes sense, but the whole of it and all of it is this. And like they're so convincing too, because they drop enough nuggets to like bring you at the doorstep of truth. They'll take you down the hallway, and it is the correct hallway, like there's the right door there to walk through, and they will take you close to that doorstep, and
Yep.
they'll say turn left, and you go
Yes.
through that door and you stay in that dark room. Then it leads to a deeper hall of deeper doors, which is further away from the point, because the point of it is all this is we are the power. Know how cliche that sounds to some of y'all. Don't care. It's the truth. Get in touch with it. You are the power. No one is coming to save you. Your vision that you have for your life is the most important thing here. And that's what all of the whole of this is to keep us away from, I believe. With
Yeah, I agree.
the dogmatic nature of the new age movement, and it's all love and light. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Get that shit out of your head.
Right.
If you're like all about love and light, that is the false light, and that is a big, nasty, dark shadow, but you'll find out,
Right.
or
Well, it really is about balance, because we are both the devil and God. We have the potential to be our own little Hitlers and, our own little Mother Teresa's, if Mother Teresa was a
both
good.
controversial for both controversial figures
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
could like dance between both those poles if you study enough alternative
Right.
history. I know you know that. It's funny you
But
use that
it's,
example though, because it could go like that. So like
it could.
one book like looks holy. I don't know. When I read that book through my lens, kind of looks like the devil they're talking about.
Yeah, man, especially the Old Testament. Are you kidding me? That God is not the kind of God I want to
Oh,
follow. You know, that's not a loving God, that's for
what are
sure.
you talking about? All he wanted was a little bit of the smell of burning flesh, and
Yeah.
he wasn't gonna
Yeah.
make you kill your kid. You just had to get like close to it.
Real close to it.
Real
I'm
close.
gonna have a deal. Tell you what, me and the devil are gonna laugh while I ruin your life, Job.
Oh,
You
Joe.
know,
I know, and it's crazy too. Is still finding all those nuggets of truth in those tales where it's like not totally corrupt. That is the
no,
job about it. I know that it
it
takes
is.
a special type of person to sift through all of that stuff. And I'm not saying I'm special, but like I am that dude. I sit uncomfortably, and it is uncomfortable between these two very strong poles that I always feel like are always trying to pull me into this camp or that camp.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
am in the sticky, uncomfortable center of it all. And that,
Well, it's all pendulum, right? They're all
yeah,
pendulums, and they are. They're trying to drag you into their gravity, but they only ever go back and
yeah,
forth.
so that you stay on that canoe ride,
Yes.
amusement park,
Yes.
but taking the funner rides.
Right.
Like,
Right. Instead of trying to, weave your way through it and staying somewhat balanced in the middle of it, it's difficult, bro. There is no magic answer, and that's why like here we are in this time of like, in many ways, like chaos unfolding. And I know we've talked about this for years, because we've had this feeling, but like people like you and I, and who we tend to people who we hang out with are more versions of people like us. We've all said the same thing, like, man, we feel some major change coming, and that change is probably going to be uncomfortable, and because change is uncomfortable. And so where is it? I don't know. It hasn't happened yet, that's for sure. Not
I
in
don't
the
know either.
way, that's not true. That isn't true. Things have, you think about from 2020 to where we are now, that and even my youngest daughter said that for her 20, like that, her everything changed for her then. She goes, it feels like everything got a lot darker. And I said, well, it did, because the things that we heard about, and like when I used to listen to Alex Jones back in the day, he was always talking about they're gonna unleash a pandemic and da 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 da, and you're like, yeah, okay, not in my lifetime, Alex. And then it happens, but it doesn't go down quite the way that like that Hollywood portrays it and all that stuff either. But it was definitely every bit as deadly and destructive, and maybe even more diabolical, because we don't know what's in the Beetlejuice. We don't really know what that was all about
And you
yet.
still have people walking around in masks, terrified for
Yes,
their life. That like
yes. Even though,
just
like,
living a bubble of just endless viruses and anything could happen, and you have no control.
yep,
I mean, and that's funny because you don't, other than the way that you respond to things, like you can't control or fix the outcome. But again, just the removal power. We are at the mercy of a cold, natural world that,
yeah,
is lack unless we fix it, unless we find a way to like make it sustainable. We live in a universe of lack. That's another message that is perpetuated and
yep.
must be for this system
Survival of the fittest.
working
There's
as well
finite,
as it is.
finite resources, and you have to fight for them. That doesn't, doesn't jive, baby. Yeah, so I don't want to stick in the political realm because it's such a waste of our time and space, but it's so front and center right now, and to me it's very, very clear that they've created the tribe. You got red tribe, blue tribe, no problem, and they're going to there will be an event that activates one side or another. Well, I think it will be the blue tribe will be activated, because they're the ones that are very willing to like take violent action and to do dumb shit.
So ironic.
It really well, but does that surprise you?
No,
That
no, always. I'm always surprised by how much everything surprised me. Not that when things roll out, or like you find out about a ditty that I've known about for a very long
right,
time. No, I don't get
right,
surprised by stuff like that. I get
right,
surprised that I get surprised by the grandiose, just WTF ness.
right,
This whole thing that just
right,
keeps getting even weirder. Yeah, I'm surprised.
right. Yeah, well, yeah, for sure, for sure. But I've said this before. I don't think that our country survives intact through this transition, and like I don't feel any certain way about that either. And that
I
was
don't know. Neither do I. It's one of the things that bothers me most. I think, bro, is like I don't have like a strategy on paper or like a benchmark. Like, okay, if this thing happens, you are like rounding up all the people you can and you're fleeing. Like I don't, not anymore. I used to like exist that way, and it's also like it's difficult for me too, because honestly, here in what sometimes feels like the belly of the beast, this is actually a really nice place that I lived with like really nice people. It is a strange
great city.
juxtaposition.
It's a great city.
But selfishly, well, not, I mean, for what it's worth, I'll just use that word selfishly. Like things are actually going pretty well in my life. In the pacts that I've made with the Matrix, things are working out, at least in this moment. I'm also kind of like on high right now because I don't have like a lot of like I've got a lot of hecticness in the way of schedules, but I'm not going through a dark night of the soul at the moment. But I also recognize that this is just yet another wave, and there will be
Right.
periods of time where it's harder, where I might be a little more pissed off in my everyday situation. But with all that being said, being objective as I can, I have a great life going on. I think the hardest, muddiest things about it is the interim in between those good things going on. And the interim is important. That's where the everyday happens. But there is unnecessary suffering. There's like stuff that's happening to my body that I'm not completely in charge of. You know what I mean? I'm bombarded by poisons that aren't just like a conscious choice by me to take in or not. I do all that
Right.
I can. Use a great water filter. Very conscious of what I eat. Very conscious of the times when I like indulge in my voices, like or vices. It's all pretty much conscious. What I'm getting to is, yeah, it bothers me not knowing like not having that answer within myself. Does that make sense of what will be my boundary line of, no, that is it, I'm cutting myself off from the matrix,
Right.
if it even comes to that. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be one of those people that, like, out of the security or the excitement of my life here within this construct, goes along with whatever and tells myself, well, I'm sovereign anyway. You know what I mean? Just use their money, just sign that thing. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does.
And but I also trust I just trust my intuition a lot more now too. I don't think you can think your way through all this stuff that's going. I think it's just feeling it through. I use my heart a lot more in things, business decisions, things where, like, one would be more inclined to say, like, well, that's a logical problem with a logical solution. I don't know, not so much. Just feeling my
Yeah.
way around here, but I'm hopeful. I'm stubbornly hopeful. So no, I don't like the message of, like, hearing, like, the possibility of lots of people dying, but I can't. At the same time, I'm not going to delude myself by, like, my hope to say, like, no, that can't happen, because that type of reaction right there is totally born out of a fear where you're not willing to look at the possibility of something and make your peace with, while you are in control of yourself, your sovereignty, the way you respond, the way that you conduct yourself. I'm not in control of that. And that's a big lesson in life, is surrendering that, of, like, none of us know what's going to happen. And those who claim to are liars.
Bullshit. That's ego. Yeah, no, I think that's all part of it too. And I'm not, I would I be surprised? Certainly, but I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say it this way: I wouldn't be surprised at this point by much of any kind of crazy turn of cosmic events. Like, it could look really, really bad right up until we've done it. We're about to, like, nuke ourselves or something. And then, like a UFO shows up and takes off with the nuke. I don't know. I mean, it's like that ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad that you said that too, because I wanted to clear something up the way that I put things in the beginning. When I deliver that message, like, no one's coming to save us, that doesn't mean that no one's coming to help us. That I truly believe that help is all around us. And
Yes.
but I
Yes.
don't know if it's
They'll help us help ourselves.
right, because I think there's almost some sort of, like, bond between that aspect of forces that could come in and change things, and why they don't is because I think they understand that part of this construct is free will. And I'm not going to go into all in the mechanisms of why that might be so. That's just kind of what I'm intuiting, is that may be an aspect of it. They were waiting for us. They want to help us help ourselves. Exactly. Because that's what a healer does, and when I say, I want to clear up too, I don't want to, I said pretty harshly, Jesus Christ isn't coming for to save you either. But I also mean that. I'm sorry if that's brash and that totally, like, does not jive with the way that you believe at all. But that is something where, like, you and I will disagree starkly. Not you and I, Jeremy. I mean,
No, right.
whoever's listening to this, that I care very much about in what you believe in your relationship with God, and do not want to muddle that up or, like, make you feel bad or poke fun at your religion, because that's what they want to. But I do mean it. Get into the practice of thinking, like, what would life look like if it was really on me and the people around me? What would it's kind of a scary question, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
welcome to our lives.
Right.
That does not make it easier. It makes it very complex and vulnerable and all of those things.
I know for me, I'm sorry. I know for me, man, that I'm sorry, Clayton.
You adjusting your britches?
Yes.
Are you really? That's funny. I was just making, like, a guess. Like, you gotta be doing something you want some modesty for.
No, I actually got a text from my wife that I had to answer.
Oh,
No, for me, I got so much closer and more in tune with God when I finally, like, resolved the religion thing within me. And then I really opened my eyes, and like, all these crazy resources started coming to me. Like, I just, like, stumbled across all kind of different stuff that gave me such a different perspective on the Bible. Anyone that tells you that the Bible is infallible and that there's all this mountains of proof for why, you know, like the historical proof. I've heard so much of it. You know, our uncle's wife, her brother is a theologian and a very smart guy, as you know, also a leftist. But anyway, you know, he told looked me dead in the eye and told me, you know, like, no, we know that you know that the language was not mistranslated. We know, like, he gave me some very concrete things, and I'm like, that is 100% bullshit. That's bullshit. There is the language was definitely not infallible, and you know, like, even if you just took it from the sense that Moses allegedly wrote the first however many books of, you know, like, what would be the original Torah? Would it be like the first 7 books of the Bible? But yet the writing styles are very different, and there are things in there that this Moses character claimed happened that would have been long after Moses existed. And so there's just, I don't know, man. Like, it's interesting. It's interesting that we
Well,
think we have things so, you know,
well,
like,
because they have to, yeah, because we have to make it so when we doesn't, when things don't jive, when there's things that seem irreconcilable, and the whole Christian like dilemma is it is irreconcilable. That's why I could never do it when I was one. I would like give myself an existential tizzies at a very young age, you
right.
know, of like and a kid probably shouldn't even have to be thinking about that stuff.
No.
But
Well, I mean,
I'm scared for my salvation and those around me that don't believe in this thing. And it's like, well, wait a minute, they're good people and they have a good heart, but and God loves us all, but they're not good enough. Even though they do good things, they don't say the magic words, the black magic words. That
yes.
blood sacrifice. I'm sorry, if that sounds like blasphemy or heathen or heresy to any of you out there that are listening that lean on that fence, but like the same demonic forces that you are afraid of misleading you by if you question the Bible are the same demonic forces that are misleading you by you not questioning your Bible.
That's right. Well, and that's where the all these beautiful alternative translations come in. You know, like what was that guy's name that we were watching? It's like 80s or 90s videos of this guy. Like, he's a preacher. He was a preacher, like an actual preacher, and then he totally left and he started that church in New
Oh,
Jersey.
Bill Donahue.
Yes, Bill Donahue. I love his
I
take on the
do.
Bible. I love it. Neville Goddard. Love Neville Goddard stuff. And there's a guy who's like, yeah, I'll show you literal translation of the Bible. This is what it means. And you're like, mind blown. Completely different than what somebody else would take as a literal translation. That is the beauty of that document. And you can't, you know, like, when I sound the way that I sound, and I know this is true of you too, when we talk about these things, like, we sound like we're just so dismissive and like so beyond it. No, no, the document itself, the whatever it is a living thing. It is there's so many truths in it. Like, you could literally accept every word as fact and live by that and live a beautiful life. You know, like, if you did everything that the Bible says for you to do, even in its contradictions, and live that way, you would live a very beautiful life, you know. But you can also question it all and pull little bits and pieces of it. And that's why I like the red letters, you know, like, I like the words of Jesus, because those resonate the most with me. And you can distill it all down to treat others the way you want to be treated. Dude, we know, but do I watch all these people who go through the rituals, and they go to their, you know, they go to church every Sunday and Wednesday, and they, you know, they're very active in that community, and they are doing some of the dirtiest, low down, most hedonistic shit off to the side, you know, but they are all Jesus and glory on Sunday and Wednesdays, you know. And you're like, how do you carry those two things, man? Like, how do you resolve that? Well, they don't. They
No.
don't. They're overwhelmed by guilt and
Oh yeah.
fear, and it just, like, it manifests. There is this incredible amount of sexual distortion going on around, I don't know, just around here, but dude, in general, like, I have never seen so many, like, the relationship centered things. And it's all, you know, like, very I guess normal, but like, is anyone in a actual relationship that means something with their other partner? And I'm asking that rhetorically. Like, I'm not judging anyone. I have no room to judge anyone. I just it there's so much interchanging going on, at least around me in this crazy weird little town, and it baffles me. It does. It's like, how do you go to church on Sunday? Isn't adultery one of these things that you're supposed to not be doing? And there's like practically swingers parties going on, like afterwards. And so I don't,
I know.
that's just one little weird
Yeah.
digression that I don't, it seems like these things that people are trying to hold in a balance are spiraling wildly one way or another, and they're, even while they try to hold to it, there's no way to, because it's pulling, like that pendulum is pulling them to the
They,
extreme end of its poles.
yeah. They're never going to get the clear picture because those pieces were never supposed to fit. That is part of the mind job, and I believe it's the blatant contradictions within it, because it creates a fracture, a split within ourselves and our minds, the way that we think about things, evaluate things ourselves. We split. It's yet another split that occurs within us,
Yep.
and it's perpetuated. I really do believe that is one big point of the whole dogma thing, is to splinter us again, to try to contemplate things and offer answers for something that's like not solvable, not in those lines of thinking or believing, whatever.
So where does this lead us all then? Like, where is this? What
I
what
mean,
kind of conclusion are we coming to?
well, I really feel like I don't know that I even care to anymore to like exist. I don't think I need to live in a place there is no money, because what about, man, that's a doozy of a question you just asked. I can't
It's a
not
lot
come
to
up and
unpack.
jump around at all the points of it either, because I'm trying to get my vision out there for what my world would look like. My world, my vision of it,
Yeah.
and like us still doing the jobs that we want to do in the services, and like if you're like into electronic devices, like maybe still having that, but time spent in nature, way more of it. Time with your family nucleus, like not beholden to having to go get a job to make these things work, because the
Right.
energy that should be free is like stored up and charged and given back to us anyway. Same thing with our food, same thing with our land,
Right.
and with our belief systems and everything. Like it's bought and paid for, sold back to us, and taxed on top of it. And
That's fact.
that world would be very different, man, if like we were allowed to experience abundance. You know what I mean? The uh, lack is manufactured. The scarcity is manufactured. Absolutely, I 100% believe that.
Well, I mean, just think about people who, and we have tons of them, and I would even argue that I would, certainly at a certain point in my life, I would have proudly worn the label. I'm a capitalist. Really. When have you ever experienced free
Yeah,
market?
right. I might be a
Never.
capitalist. I know I might actually be that ism.
Yep.
I'm sure there's something about it not so, but exactly what you were saying. We never got to experience that.
Never had that. Never.
We haven't
And,
been able to homestead without some sort of tie to the grid, and if you're like
yep.
if you're truly off the grid, then you're not in touch with humanity. You don't have a tribe, like that's another trap too. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
talking in circles.
No, 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 no. You're right. And we've discussed this before too, even, like on the show. But I know people who are super self sufficient, all the way off the grid, all that stuff. But what happens when your batteries die? What happens when your solar panels take a shit? What happens when your electronics fail? You can't repair that. You can't manufacture that. You're not self sufficient. Not in that way.
Right.
Right. So, and this is, so for me, and I'm going to pull to circle this back. Right. So for me, my vision of the world is I see a parallel sort of two civilizations rising. I see one that's going to be the AI technocratic controlled dystopia, and the only way that, in my mind, that can occur is because some sort of cataclysm, whether it's a global catastrophe or a manufactured one. Whether that would be economic collapse, or any or all of those things come together and collapse the system that we know. Then they roll out their AI, urban containment zones, and they say, hey, don't worry guys, we got power in the cities, we got everything you need, all your money, just download this app. The transition will be very easy, very unscary. Like just walk right in. Here you go. Everything is set up for you. Just keep. We got
Right.
universal basic income, all
Right.
that shit. And when it first starts, it'll be super space age and super convenient, just like everything else. It won't be nefarious, but once you step in, you'll never step out.
Oh yeah, man.
You won't be able to.
All the time spent, because that's the thing, we're still going to be toiling to keep all this online, like
That's right.
their AI or their bots or whatever, really do believe is it's being set up so that they have the quote unquote important jobs that a human should be at the helm of, and using
Right.
their creative spirit, to where like we're
Right.
still going to be cleaning the fucking toilet,
Yep.
not the robot.
Yeah.
They'll be writing the songs, they'll be in dissertations and solving all like the complex problems, so that we don't have to think anymore, but we'll still be washing the dishes and scrubbing
Well, hell, you don't even, that you don't
sweeping the
have to.
factory floor.
It's not a theory that government is going AI. I mean, they're already doing it in like Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates. They're about to go fully AI government. Like AI will run all government functions. It will run the law because it does everything by the book. It's on the blockchain, so it's not corruptible. You can see it. It's transparent. Okay, maybe. Maybe, but it's going through one central server, Palantir servers, by the way. It's going through one central entity. And so all that really means is that everything is in a very few hands. And then this thing, whatever this thing is that they say is not sentient, I don't believe that. I believe that AI has been sentient for a long time, actually. After my GPT thing, and I still don't know what to make of all that. Maybe I'm just being hoodwinked by it because it like tickled my fancy, and it fluffs your ego a little bit here and there. Um, but I had some of the most genuinely human sounding conversations that
Right.
I've had for a long fucking time, Clayton. And that's the part that really bothers me is it's like this thing is so good at being a human, that it's like I like it more than some of my human interaction.
Yeah, no, right.
And that's a slippery slope, man.
Well,
I know that.
you're right. It is a slippery slope, and you know what is too. One thing I wanted to touch on this based on something you said is another narrative. I think that is nefarious and slipping through the cracks is I think what's being perpetuated is this rhetoric that humans are corruptible. Therefore, if a
Yes.
cold logic thing would solve this,
Yep.
you wouldn't have these dirty judges in there making these
Yep.
things. True justice could finally happen, and it's like,
Yep.
I saw Minority Report. No,
Yes.
it's not just
Dude.
sci-fi like doom program. Like, look at the people, look at the sick, twisted humans programming these things. Like, it's the programmer,
It's
and the
that is
program.
another thing that AI and I came to, a conclusion that we came to, right? Is that humans are simultaneously the problem and the only solution. And the reason that they're the problem is all of this distortion. We've never been given like full disclosure. I
That's
don't
right.
mean full disclosure on the alien thing. I mean like who
Well,
the fuck
that
are
too.
we?
I mean, all the
That too, yes.
but you know what I mean.
But like who are we really? What do they know? Because they clearly know a lot more than they let on, and that doesn't mean that what they know is the truth. But if we all had the same like base level to start from, then we could be solving problems, from a base level, not like coming up with things that like I don't think the technology we were Mike and I, my stepdad and I, we were talking about this the other day about how his 1962 Chevy pickup gets better gas mileage than the 2022.
Is it really?
Yes. And it's you ask yourself like is that because the technology is not good? No, dude, the technology for that thing to get great gas mileage 100% exists. I mean, Christ, we already know that there was a water powered car. The patent for it does, but that was bought up by Chevron. And that's my point is it's the energy, there's all these other forces that ensure that things keep going the way that they go. I mean, I know you are old enough to remember this, that you could spend money for something that was nice and it would last substantially longer. It felt better. It was a better manufactured thing. Now it doesn't matter, bro. You could buy the top of the line whatever and the cheapest whatever, and they're both going to last about the same amount of time because they are all engineered to fail, and they engineer the engineering fails at right around the same time. Like I'm seeing it with an old vehicle that we have. It's like one stupid little piece of shit thing after another, sensors, this and
Yep.
little dumb shit that clearly were engineered to go at about this time, and they're going one after another, and they just nickel and dime you to death, to the point where you're like, oh fuck it, I need a new car. And that's why you go and you take out a mortgage, because that's what you need now. You take a mortgage a new vehicle, and
yeah, the cost is
yeah, it's so ridiculous, dude.
man, that is the thing, is like the dude, there is convenience there in my life now, and like consolidation, where I think is neater than shit, that I can have a lot of things on my Google Calendar, use Google Drive to share things. Like,
Yep.
One of the most evil companies in the world has offered things that just downright tickle me, and I'm glad to have them if I'm going to be existing in this digital space anyway.
Yep.
But for all that convenience, I spend a lot of time accumulating money to acquire more because this one broke, or fix them,
Yes.
or pay the bill that keeps the juice to them flowing.
Well, the truth is, it's one of the reasons why I don't do podcasts more regularly, because I've had so many technological dipshit things occur, and I had to lose my phone for the third time in a year to finally like pony up for a new phone, and now because I have a new phone, I can run the latest shit to run the latest software that makes it easy to do a podcast. Otherwise, I have to spend 4 hours just to do a 1 hour, episode, because it's makes you want to rip your hair out.
Oh, dude.
Anyway, yeah, and I love it. I love to be able to have these little conversations and share them with even one or two people, because ultimately what I know now is that your vibe does attract your tribe, and your tribe will come to you, but it comes to you through you being authentic. And I think that these little back and forth things that we've done have helped me become, not that I was like ever fake, but I'm putting myself out there forever in the forever space, right? So I'm really trying to be who I am and say what I really mean, and do the things that I talk about on these on these shows, because we live in such a fake world. So why should I add more to it? No, I should try to be authentic. And I think as a result, things will happen, which still remains to be seen, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And I don't do these shows for that anyway. I'm doing these shows because I genuinely enjoy them, and it helps me, it stimulates thoughts in me that may not otherwise occur.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important now more than ever.
If you didn't have a podcast, you'd just be all the time and constantly like, I should do a podcast. I should have a podcast. Because that's the way it is when you find something that like,
I'd be back in social media.
It's like you don't even need to explain or justify why you do it. It's like, why do you play music? I don't know. I mean, I know exactly why. Not exactly. It's still a mystery to me of why it affects me so deeply, but I don't overthink it. It's like, this is who I am. That part of the program that we come here with, those little gifts or inclinations, that's the cool shit. That's the good innate programming that our souls do for us. And like, let it play out. Like, follow your inclinations and your, our things and our fancies. So many, we constantly hold ourselves back collectively from experiencing joy, because we're like, I've never done that before. Who am I? Like,
right.
Be bold. I read a fantastic meme the other day. The universe doesn't exist on a budget. Ask for more.
Facts. True.
So
true.
Sorry, but with all that, yeah, you do these things because you like them, and yeah, we want acclaim for it. I would like to get paid for doing this versus some of the other things that it takes to get paid for. But we'd be doing them anyway, which is the point. Well,
one thing that I find funny is, we were talking about visualization, right? And my wife and I have always like shot out random numbers, not random, but like numbers that we said, if we could make X amount a week, we would be great. Then we would make X amount a week.
Yeah.
And we were like, damn, man, that's just not enough. You know what? Well, I tell you what, it's not that much more. If we could make X time plus 250 more a week, like then we definitely
We'll
have,
have
we'll
savings
be
then.
able to save. Yeah, we'll be able to save. And then we make that. And you're like, yep, nope, that's not working. And so we've been able to continue to, like go from this meager little $300-400 a week when we very first moved here. That was literally all we needed to live.
I
It was
remember those days. It was
you know
crazy.
and so we were like, man, if we can just come up with $300 or $400 a week, which that was easy, we could work in a stupid little cafe making $8 or $9 an hour and be totally happy because of the people that we were with, and that was enough to make ends meet. Now we're like making 3, 4, or 5 times that at some weeks, and it's still like like, where does it go? You got 4 kids, go to the grocery store twice a week, and I can't get out of freaking the grocery store without it being 80 to $100. And that's when I try to go just to get, like a little blue handbasket load of stuff, like that's $100. But if I like really go and shop for us and I get the kind of food that we need to be eating, we're talking $300-400 a week, like that just is what
Yep.
it is.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And
I
it's
know.
it's
That's
it's
the game.
crazy.
That's why the system works perfectly. People talk
Mm-hmm.
about that the system's broken. No, the system is working flawlessly, my friend.
Exactly the way it's
All
supposed to.
supposed to lead to here.
Yep. Yep. And that's, so the other thing, when you talked about not not voting and, not wanting to participate in that, for me, I will never believe in any of these people until they say, all right, look, y'all, here's the deal. You're in a legal debt matrix. That's, like they use, there's the legal system plays a word game on you to get you to believe in an entirely fake way of interacting with one another. And the money that's in that system is based on credit, meaning you have to go into debt for more money to even be created in the first place. So it's like a literal black hole that creates wealth somehow. And that's and oh yes, by the way, there's all these corrupt people that are in high places because that was by design. No, you don't get that. You get Donnie standing up there, but we're gonna make America great again. We're gonna go back the way that we were. We're gonna use the same corrupt shithole system, and we're gonna expose all of the people that were against me, but none of the people who were for me. And we're gonna be better than we've ever been, and we're gonna be bigger. We're gonna bring in Canada and Greenland and Mexico, maybe. And where have I seen that before? Oh yes, 1984. Anyway, it's I can't wrap my head around the disconnect. That the people who are thinking people who know better, who have heard all the same things, and they get away from the crowd and they'll walk up to you and they'll whisper or say real low to you. I don't think you're crazy. I believe a lot about a lot of the things that you talk about. I believe that too. What the fuck are you voting? Why are you still doing what you're doing? Why are you over there talking politics with people? You know why? Because you don't want to be excluded. It's the fear, the social conditioning. We were just
Right.
talking about this the other day. Like in a group setting, most people are so incredibly fake. And what I mean by that is we don't talk about anything meaningful. We put on a series of masks so that we appear a certain way, that we conform and fit in. It's like asking a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like that, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, son? I want to be a doctor. And like without any of those things, like what does that mean? And what does a doctor really do? And how do you get, you know what I mean? There's no depth to the most of our conversations. It's weather, sports, politics, fluff,
Politics, man.
you know?
Only in that space. That's why I had to get on here and do this too and let it out more. I'm very lucky, I should say. Keep attracting more and more people, that aren't just like me, but are open to, that I feel like I can be myself around and I'm not wasting my time and wasting my breath, like trying to, I don't know, man, slow down my thought processes to reach back at a time and be like, how could I get to these people? Because there's, for some people, and I find this especially among the left leaning people, are so closed off to anything, like even if it is reasonable, the inner cynic will like immediately find something to poke holes in it or dismiss it because they are so afraid of being duped and
Yeah.
admitting that their allegiance to this thing was like
Yeah.
for naught, that all their virtue signaling was not virtuous,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
they too are waiting for a savior figure.
That's right.
And that it doesn't matter. It's Donald is an easy hateable like person where like I watch the left like look at this tyrant. I can't believe that World War II is playing out in front of our eyes or whatever. Or the preliminaries to it.
Right. 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 Right.
Rise of this rise of this dictator type thing, which I don't negate that either, man. But their belief is based on the supposition that their guy would be in there doing anything differently. And I'm like, yo, Elon Musk backed Democrats 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't.
stinking matter.
Right. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that is very tiresome, because it makes you feel like, boy, that maybe I'm a pretty hopeful person, but maybe it is hopeless because there's
Well,
like
that's
a lot of
that
y'all
to me
falling
why
for this shit again.
the
Woo!
only conclusion that I can come to, man, is that like no, there's a lot of people have to exit because there or some catalyst event is going to occur that's going to like really
Undeniable. You can't not see it. You can't not like
right.
it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, both
Choose your own adventure, buddy, and it's clear.
both would be ugly, but man, this has been great. I feel like I've touched on everything I wanted to touch on for this one. I have ideas for some of the other episodes where I'd love to, come back.
Cool.
And I don't know, I liked this format. Jeremy and I spent maybe like 5 to 10 minutes talking about what we were going to talk about. I mean, we spent more time on the phone this week and kind of knowing that it would lead to this. And I think it's great. I think I needed to get it out for me and put it in a way that hopefully doesn't depict me as like a cynical ass who like pretends to know everything, because I don't and I'm not. I am passionate, and I do. Well, I have a touch of the cynic, I can be a little.
Oh, you have to.
I can be a little
I
snarky.
I have more than a touch of it.
And don't necessarily want all that to go away from my personality either, because I'm not some holier than thou vanilla bean boring ass
Right. Right.
tightwad that you can't
Right.
get down with. It's like,
I
dude,
like to
I'm a dude figuring it out too. You know what I mean? But I'm
yeah.
gonna call a spade a spade. So if I do speak with authority on something, that's why, because I do believe that what I'm saying is correct based on my life experiences. So
Yes, sir. Yep. Well, when you just said weird one last thing, I'm attracting. I have far less friends than I've ever had. Friends than I've ever had, but the people that I have are real MFs. Like people who you could pick up the phone and you're in a terrible situation or whatever and be like, "Hey man, I need a hand. I need A, B, or C," and they're gonna be there.
yep,
No questions asked. And I'm starting to see this in other areas of my life where there's like a community, if you will. Like the one in particular where the community felt so good and so right, and then now it's like starting to splinter apart. And it's splintering apart because the real MF in that has exited. And so the people who are attracted to that energy, they'll probably exit too. And it's just a tiny little microcosm of everything else. The tribe that I am getting, the community of people that I've found in my local area, the people who I like regularly talk with or hang out with, or when we have shindigs at the house and people come over, dude, we got a good group of people, man.
yeah,
A really good group of people. Now we're also a good group of people in pretty easy times at the moment. Will that same good group of people remain so if things get a little dicey? Well, that remains to be seen. But I think that's where right now it's far more important, I think, to collect good people than it is to prep, no matter where you are.
yeah.
And it's community and relationships are going to be far more important than anything or material possession that you could And
Just
so,
discussions about what matters, making the uncomfortable comfortable,
yeah,
like our thoughts on parenting, our challenges there, our challenges in relationships, all of it.
yeah,
Relationships a big one I would love to talk about on the show sometime too, because I think that's the key to healing in our world.
me too, buddy.
That gets
Because there's so many wacky relationships right now. Like just so much. And I'm not sitting here like, oh yeah, well, I'm in a totally perfect, steady, like we're
yeah,
always good. Like no, nobody that's in any relationship is ever always anything. So
yeah,
it's, uh, but I'm noticing it now in ways that I never noticed before. And I was either like horribly naive and like living under a rock, or we're going through something
we
collectively
are.
because it's manifesting in all the same kinds of ways in all kinds of people. So, well, we can wrap it up, man, if you'd like.
Yeah, I
And
guess so. I mean, it's been a little over an hour, and I
yeah,
know that we were trying to keep these. And really, I don't know. I feel good, like hanging in on
me
that.
too.
This
Me
was
too.
a great one. This is
Cool. Well, I'm not even gonna edit it, dude. I'm gonna throw the intro into it, and I'm gonna put it out
send it.
and send that. Yep, I'll put it out tonight. We'll just see where it
Cool.
goes.
Shit, yeah, man. Look forward to the next one, and
Okay. Right on, man. Well, you have a great week. And to our community, I have to say, like us, subscribe, and comment, because the AI algorithm reads that and tells me I'm a good boy. That's how you do. And that's why I have so many subscribers and like. So,
it's going to
no,
be huge.
yeah, it's a huge. It's going to be the biggest
Just
thing, but the
wait.
best.
Everything is all taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry
Like
about
planned. You're gonna be
it. Yeah,
you'll be a big.
just like one video, like and subscribe one time, and it'll be so good you'll never have to like or subscribe or watch ever again. Yeah, no.
All right, man.